Greetings YouTube and welcome to my latest weapons build. I'm going to be working on a Goedendag, which I'm probably butchering. It's from the Netherlands, it's Dutch, so I've got no idea if I'm saying it properly. But what it is an anti-armor weapon designed to be very approachable by low-skilled users. So it's going to be used to get through gaps in armor as well as smash armor. And it's known as a characteristics is that it's a shaft. This is a hardwood tool handle. This is the mutt from Village Blacksmith. It's a type of root cutter apparently. I bought it like this. This is how I got it. I bought it this way specifically. I just wanted the handle because it was a nice piece of hardwood. So I'm going to cut that off there. Now, this is a piece of steel. I think it conceivably might be from a motorcycle. This is salvage, so it cost me nothing. And I believe I got this in a bunch of other things that were motorcycle related as well. But this thing fits here absolutely flawlessly. It's the gods wanted this to go there. So I want to put that on there, and I'm actually going to probably put it just a smidge below the end, so probably like that, because it's not very long. So I may have a little bit of wood sticking above the top. That way I can get more of this lag bolt into here, and I want to get the lag bolt down to about there, and that will give me more in the shaft than just that much, because I also need to attach this to the shaft, and I want to do that with two cross pieces, two bolts going through at 90 degrees to each other with these. And these are about the scale I want to use. This may be stainless steel or hardened steel. This is going to be a pain to drill. I get the impression I'm not going to enjoy drilling this. So we may end up having to, I may end up having to drill it with a hardened steel drill bit designed, carbide designed for this kind of thing. I'll try it without one, and then if I have to, I'll open it up to the size I need it to be. And I want to have this done because it will let me put points on other sides. So you'll end up with 4 points, 90 degrees to each other. And I'm going to set this up asymmetrically in the sense that there will be one up as close as I can get here, as well as one down here, so that you'll get the 2 points on this 2/3, and then this will be smooth, so that will have more distance to get into the shaft. And when I get that to bottom out on one of these, I will cut it off and then grind a point on the end. So you're not going to, when I'm done, I'll figure out how long I want it to be, because I want it to be long enough to be of use to get through gaps in armor, but not so long it might be potentially just bend if you want to use it. So if I can get it to be that long, cool. And if I can only get it to be down like, that long, that's also cool, and I'll just grind a point on the end once it's been installed. I could go get myself a double lag bolt for this purpose, but I have this already. This cost me next to nothing. I can't remember. I think conceivably I got these for free. I may have paid very little for them. I'm not 100% sure on that. But I have them, and they're here, so that's what I'm going to use. This was free. This was dirt cheap. I got this at an estate sale. If it's broken, I think I paid $1 for it. So this whole project is coming in under the wire with not a lot of cost. And this is a real-world anti-armor, again, low-skilled, easy to cobble together kind of weapon that could be made by a blacksmith for use against armored knights. Because you get 2 or 3 guys with these things going after a guy in armor, and the guy in armor could be in serious danger. He's not going to be happy, because these are essentially going to end up being oyster shuckers for a guy in armor. So first thing I'm going to have to do with this project is cut the end off. I want to make that nice and tidy, and then start working on drilling the holes in this, because that's going to be the most difficult task right there, is getting these holes drilled in this piece of steel. The rest of it will not be that difficult. Cut these to length, put points on the end. You've seen me do this before. So hopefully it'll look good when I'm done. So let's cut this off first, and then we'll start working on that. I'll get this thing set up in my drill bit, in my drill press, and I'll show you how I'm going to clamp it. All right, so I've got my V block set up here. Whoops, I don't want to do that. I want to have that there. I have my V block set up, and I have my hold down clamp here. There's not much of a gap in there, but there is a gap between the drill bit and the V and the clamp, so that's good. The problem is that the threaded rod I want to use is 1/2 inch, and I cannot get a 1/2 inch drill bit into that V channel. It just won't fit, so the biggest I can get in there is like a 3/8. So this is a 3/8 inch drill bit. So I'm going to have to open that up with a step drill, and not really what I would consider exciting, but it is what it is. So I'm going to drill this at 3/4 of an inch, and this is the lowest of the two holes. The other one's going to be somewhere up here. I haven't figured out how far I want to have that be different, but it will happen. Because that does present me a slight issue in trying to figure out how to get the angle correct, because I'm dealing with very close, not very close, but for my setups, fairly close measurement. So I can't have a pin coming over here to help me line it up, so it's going to have to be here, so that it pulls everything to a lot tighter than I'm happy with, but there's nothing I can do about that. So I am going to put a little oil on here and go very, very slowly. This is definitely not hardened, so that's a good thing. I just want to see to make sure I'm in the middle. I am in the middle, because at this point you can make a little bit of an English change if you have to. You know what I mean? Just kind of tweak it, but I don't have to. So. Go. So now that I've got this done, I don't want to change this or this. That's going to have to stay exactly the same. I don't want to alter that. That just makes my life a little bit more difficult. Get that burr off. Came out pretty nice though. There's a little slight burr, but that came off nice and clean. I do like the color as well. I don't have any idea why it's this color. It looked like it may have been burned, like somebody had overheated it or something. I am not overheating it. I am using lubricant. I know what the heck I'm doing sometimes. So now I'm going to have to figure out where I want the next hole to be, and then figure out how I am going to, maybe I can get lucky if I can get, now I want that like here, I think. So this is going to be, yeah, I'll figure it out. When I do, I'll get back to you. So the only thing I could do on this, because there's no way I can put a pin through this. This distance is too short. Because this is a 3/4 of an inch from the end, and this is 3 inches from the end. That's as tight as I can get it, and both give myself enough space for that bolt to go in there and be comfortable with it, as well as visually to find it attractive. I don't want it to get too crowded. So all I could do is I put this in there and I looked this way till I got the same size arc of the top of the hole on both sides. So I'm visually lining it up. That's the best I can do. I think I'm probably within a couple of degrees of 90. Yeah, it is what it is, you know what I mean? You can only do so much. So we're gonna, a little bit of oil on there. And no, I have no idea what that oil is. It just was in the container when I bought it. One of the big advantages of this is that I can do that. Like this. There we go. One of the disadvantages of drilling tubing, sometimes that you get, it hangs up on you, catches the flutes on the drill bit catch the metal. That's the nature of the beast. All right, so I don't need you on anymore. You. Now let's take a look and see how close I got to 90 degrees. At the inside of this thing is ugly as all get out. So looking down the center, I've got a 3/8 inch rod in there. Looking down the center right there, that is very close. I'm quite happy with that. I think that result is quite acceptable for what I'm doing. I just got lucky in that I could see the hole. Because if it was the smaller diameter, that would have been more difficult because it would have been below this horizon, this lip. But at the moment, that just works. Yay, yay, yay. So let's get the inside of this tube cleaned out because I need that kind of cleaned out for later. Yeah. Next step is going to be opening this up with a step drill, which is just oh so much fun. Let's hear it for a step drill, and this is just a cheap one I picked up at Harbor Freight, but you know, it works. So there you go. If you look down the center of that shaft, that looks like it's a 90 degrees, doesn't it? I got really darn close with that. I'm quite happy with that. Very happy. So now I'm going to need to mount this. In fact, actually, I'm going to need to figure out where I want the holes. So I'll mount this on the piece of shaft, on the shaft. Figure out where I want the holes to be. I will drill the first hole, probably pin it, and then I'll drill the second hole if I can. Because I really want to get these as centered as possible. So I'm not changing the rig I have set up on the barrel drill press at the minute. I will probably have to lower the drill bit because I'm going to want to use a spade bit on this. If I have a spade bit that is that sharp, because this is hardwood, man. It is not soft. I've already drilled the hole in the end, which I'm going to use as the guide for that, and it's definitely a piece of hardwood. That next, but I don't think I'll do that today. I think I'm kind of on the tired side, so I'm gonna go up the stairs, relax a bit before lunch. So you'll catch me in the next scene. So here I've got the collar in place, and I used it to help me guide the holes because I'd only been able to drill 3/8, and now I had to open those up to 1/2 inch. I did the first one, then I used this as a pin to make sure that the next one would be properly lined up. The edge got a little bit torn up, but again, when I'm done, we're going to have locking washers and threaded rod on here, so you're never going to see those. So what I need to do now is I'm going to remove this, set this up, and I want to grind points onto this, and I'll rough it out with my grinding disc from my angle grinder. Means I got to get my safety gear on. I'm currently not wearing it, and I will do one end, put it through here and see how far out I need this whole thing to be, because I need to make sure I want that it sticks out far enough for my needs beyond the lock washer and the nut that will hold it in place when I'm finished, because you're going to have 2 lock washers and 2 nuts on either side holding this whole thing together, and I want to know what that looks like, make sure I get the right length, because once I commit myself, we'll be cutting it off and doing the other end. Right now it's a lot easier to clamp it when it's full size. So suit up, get some safety gear on, and start grinding a hole. I grind in a point on these 2 threaded rods so that I get the look I want and the length I need. So the 2 bolts are now installed. So we have the points, and I wanted to go for relatively blunt points. I was looking for durability over penetration here, basically because these are designed for blunt impact trauma and armor denting. That's the goal here, is to dent armor, because if you're fighting someone who has metal armor on, you dent that metal armor, the metal armor stays dented, and that can cause continuing issues for them from that point forward, particularly if it's a metal helmet, because if you dent that side in, now you've created a contusion that has now got compression on it. Not a fun place, not a fun place to be. So I wanted these to be relatively stout. Let's put it that way. So now I want to install this. Now this is going to go. I'm going to take it all the way in until I hit this to get the maximum amount of depth for strength. And then I'm going to cut it off, and I'm thinking I may cut it off right at the end of the threads, and then put a sharper point on this end here. This would then just become a future pin or something. I'm not sure what that's going to become. I can always use a pin for something, but that's no longer a bolt after that. I'm going to be using some wax to make that a little bit easier. This is just standard paraffin wax, and I got this at an estate sale years ago for a song. I think I paid $1 for that entire block, and it's about 3/4 of it's still remaining. So I'm going to use some wax on this to get this in there, and so that it'll make it a little bit easier going in to this wood, because it does have a little bit of corrosion on it. And I do want this to be snug, so this hole is not, it's slightly undersized for this probably. But because I've got this collar here, I'm not really worried about cracking it at all. And if I do start to hear it, I can always back it out, and I can always open up the hole slightly more. But if I don't hear any cracking, this should hold everything together nice and firmly, which is kind of the reason I wanted to do it. Also, I like the vibe, I like the look of this, and it also gave me more wood to hold it into. That's only, that's 2 inches. That's not a lot of thread. In fact, I think I'm going to go and grind off that tip first, because I don't really need the tip. I already have the hole drilled, so I'm going to grind that tip off, so that'll give me a little bit more, a little further in that I can get before the threads engage. So here we have the completed item. Now, when the wood cracked, it went all at once. I didn't really have any time to react, so I'm like, screw it. It's not going anywhere, folks. Take my word for it. That lag bolt is never coming out of there again. I've put a point on it. It is not needle sharp, which is okay. I don't want it to be needle sharp. I want it to have some kind of durability. It's not hardened, so that head right there. I mean, I could technically heat it up and then quench it, but that's, I don't really have. The only thing I really have to heat things with is a propane torch, and that's not going to get this hot enough to really do a proper quenching. Propane just doesn't get hot enough for that kind of thing. But the points are all the way I want. They look good. I like the way this sleeve. Now, I would have been happier if this sleeve had been a little bit thicker, but it fits so darn nice. It was perfectly made for this diameter. So I'm like, I'm not messing with success here. Yeah, it would be nice if it was a heavier walled metal to give this whole end of the device, the weapon, more mass. But it fits so perfect, and I already had it, so this was a zero cost project for me. I had to purchase nothing for this. Everything was already in my shop. So when I have that, and also a lot of it was free, like this was free, and these fasteners were all free. This was incredibly low cost, and I purchased it years ago, so my buy-in to that is close to zero, and I think I paid $1 for this shaft at an estate sale because it was broken. And people are like, what do you want a broken tool handle for? Well, I can turn it into something else, take my word for it. And here we have it. So here is my version of a Goedendag, which I know I am butchering, and I apologize to anyone out there who speaks Dutch. It is, I say that from the deep depths of my heart. I am an American, and the only thing I barely speak is English. So I'm going to take this outside and get some stills, both for this video as well as for my DeviantArt page, which is where you should follow me, because DeviantArt is where I store the permanent repository of stills for my weapon builds. You should also follow me on Instagram, because that is where I post stuff about my builds, bargains, salvage, and of course cute cat pictures, and who doesn't love a cute cat picture? So I hope you folks enjoyed this build. I did, and I hope that you come back for the next one.